The greatest spiritual weapons in your arsenal are self-awareness and self-realization. However, on the narrow path, when you're walking this path, it can be difficult to discern what exactly that looks like and how exactly it works. In fact, many of us, especially on semen retention for us men out there, we have the proclivity toward moving in a direction that might make us want to forget about how magical this life really is. And don't make any mistake about it. Numerology, astrology, divination, there's all truths to these things. Now, does that mean that it's right or wrong? No. It's not that we ought to encourage the practice of these, but that we ought to understand them so that we don't fall into the traps of what they actually do to your spirit and your soul in the long term. And when you're on semen retention, and by the way, welcome to another Semen Retention Sunday episode here on the Regal Change account. When you're on semen retention, your presence in of itself is going to naturally be magnetic and magical, and people are going to be drawn to you in a specific way, but they don't really know why. And you also have to have the recollection and the self-awareness to be able to harness this capacity for newfound spiritual growth, because you're going to be operating on a level that is simply beyond what normal people, and by normal people I mean depleted coomers for the men out there, and women that are loud and obnoxious and hyper anxious and all of these things that are just masculine. The feminine men and the masculine women will not understand, and that's really just most people in our society nowadays. And you're going to be able to almost force people just by your presence to be their most authentic selves, even when they don't really want to be. Now, what exactly does that mean? It means that you get to see them for who they really are in that moment. They might be able to put on that face for everybody else. They might be able to put on a mask for everybody else. They might be able to deceive other people. But what I think that self-awareness and discernment as spiritual weapons can be for you in your arsenal, right, is that you're going to maximize the probability of seeing through the BS and minimize the possibility of you getting got, so to speak, right? Because the minimization of you getting got naturally will increase the probability that you are going to discern people's real motives. And this is why, well, why does this have to do with semen retention? What does semen retention have to do with this exactly? Well, it's not just the practice of purity that is semen retention, because as I've mentioned in a few of my Semen Retention Sunday videos recently, there's a lot of men who idolize semen retention. They don't quite understand it. They don't quite understand what the narrow path actually entails. By the way, my coffee is just at a perfect temperature right now, so I will be sipping on it throughout the video. But man, oh man, it's just a beautiful day. You know, there's some sun out there. It's a bit chilly still, but the leaves are practically all fallen from the trees, and winter's about to roll in, and it's been nice to have a little extra week or two of fall and autumn where I'm at in the mountains here. But you know what? I think, I'm ready for the transition over into winter, and the changing of the seasons naturally has this unique ability to influence our emotions and just the way that we move in life, And I think that this is something else that you can use as a tool or a weapon in your arsenal when it comes to spiritual warfare and understanding what exactly is happening throughout the walk that you are actually on. So when it comes to semen retention specifically, why is it the case that your presence becomes more magnetic and magic? because magic is real, okay? And people might not know about certain types of magic. Now, there's a different type of magic for practically everything. This whole existence is practically magic, but it's also not at the same time. It's actually very simple, it's very straightforward. There's a natural proclivity that you have to, if you are actually operating in your human form to the fullest degree that you can be possible, which semen retention allows you to harness. Because when you do that, you're going to see the reality for what it truly is. You're going to see that there's this differentiation of life that is so beautiful, and that although we share this common life, we're actually much more better when we're different. And semen retention allows you to just reveal that authentic side of you that maybe you don't even know about. But you have to think about semen retention also as like a vessel. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's almost in of itself, the practice, there's like multiple layers to this. And the first vessel is you realizing that semen retention can actually help you manifest certain things. Now, I do not use the term manifest in regard to like, oh, just wishing into existence. That's not what I'm talking about. And I don't mean it as in like you can bend reality to your will without it just slapping you back in the face. No, that's not what I'm saying at all either. Because if you're not walking in accordance to God's laws, statutes, and commandments, you will have reality smack you back in the face. It may not be for a long time, though. You might think that you're doing all these things, and this is exactly what astrology, numerology, divination does. Okay, you seem like you're actually practicing it. And there is utility in knowing what it is. Because as the saying goes, I'm not sure if people know about this or not, but the saying goes, millionaires do not use astrology, but billionaires do. Okay? Why do you think that would be the case? And really think about that for a second. Why would it be that millionaires don't use astrology, but billionaires do? Well, there's a reason for that. And if you look at the charts of the stocks and such, you might see, as I have, a fascinating correlation. Now, correlation does not equal causation all the time, but there's a fascinating correlation with the full moon and the new moon, and then the types of stocks that go up and down at those certain times, or even just crypto or Bitcoin altogether. Now, is it always going to be the case like that? Maybe, maybe not. But there is a strong correlation, and you don't have to take my word for it. Go check the charts yourself. There's just that nice coffee feel in the morning, man. There's nothing like it. But the ways in which that we're going to be able to move in the world when we're operating at a higher level of understanding is you might be operating from a place that what I call the mystical beyond. Now, I talk about the mystical beyond quite a bit in my book here. And the mystical beyond is, some call it, maybe in Orthodox Christianity, they call it the noetic realm. Now, when I first started to write this book 5 years ago, I did not know about the noetic realm. And anybody that doesn't know about the noetic realm in the Orthodox Christianity dogma, I don't really consider it dogma, but it is, part of the dogma of the Orthodox. And I think Orthodoxy by far is the most reputable of the forms of Christianity out there. However, I still think that a lot of it is missing the point, but that's a topic for another time. Because I follow Christ, and I ultimately believe that the semen retention journey is about following Christ, and it's growing closer to Christ. And even if you're a woman watching this and you're wanting to follow Christ, but obviously you don't have semen, and so how do you retain? Well, it's just, it would be the female version of semen retention, which would just be abstaining from, watching porn and playing with yourself or edging. Now, what is edging? A lot of women don't even realize how much they actually edge. Okay, now you can think about edging as a form of aiming to get dopamine hits based off of the attention that you get from multitudes of men or women, depending on if you're a man or woman, of course, right? But women edge too, okay? Every time a woman goes out in public and she's wearing, extra revealing clothes and, she's getting a dopamine hit off of seeing men see her, yeah, that's edging. Okay, she's getting high, so to speak, off of the attention that she's getting. And there's nothing really wrong with a woman who looks good, but also there's nothing wrong with a man that looks good, but also what are you doing it for? Are you doing it for the attention, or are you doing it well, if you say you're doing it for you, how truthful are you really being? Because we hear that a lot. We hear, oh, well, I don't dress for other people. I dress for me. That's my impression of a feminist woman, by the way. Because that's what they sound like in my head. But, yeah, I mean, you're not dressing for you, woman. It's okay. You don't have to lie about it. I have much more reverence and respect for the women that actually just are truthful about what they are doing things for and why they're doing things for, than the women that pretend to be these like traditional women and they're actually not. That's just not the case. And what's interesting about being on Semen Retention is that you're going to expose these types of people. This is another reason why your presence is going to be almost like magic or even synchronistic. Now, anybody that is not familiar with synchronicity is, you can think about it as a falling together in time, or a communion of different individualized things coming together seemingly in time. It's what Carl Jung describes as a meaningful coincidence. And what I've been able to extrapolate in my own studies of just life in general, and as being as scientific as possible when it comes to this kind of thing, because it can be very mystical. And this is where you have to very much so tread waters lightly, because synchronicity, the root term of synchronicity means in Greek to have together, which the synchro, and then chronos, which is time. So synchronos, that's, together of time. Synchronicity is the meaningful coincidences that happen. So I'm sure everybody's had like a coincidence, right? But maybe there's something that happens where it's something completely separate from your life, and yet you notice that, okay, well, these two events that are acausal have nothing to do with each other, and yet for some reason it like matches perfectly. Now, some people will say that it's the universe winking at you, or it's God winking at you. I don't always think that that's the case, though. And the reason being is because demons and fallen angels, astrology, if you're studying astrology, numerology, or divination, whatnot, okay, you have to be mindful of this, because sometimes these kinds of synchronicities can be messages from fallen angels or demons. And this is why you have to be very, very mindful about where you're getting your information from and how you're getting your information. Because we're going to be reading the Book of Enoch in the Regal Change Academy starting today. And what we're going to be talking about is a lot of this kind of stuff, because the Book of Enoch, if anybody's not familiar with it, it's very much so considered a forbidden book among most types of denominations of Christianity. The religious leaders were not accepting of it because of the amount of fallen angels that were fornicating with humans. Now, it is my belief, I don't really have confirmation of this other than my intuition, but it is my belief that these fallen angels are actually the gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt or Greece or whatnot. They're just personified differently. and their characters are still very similar, but they're just expressed in a little bit of a different way. They're like, there's a difference between archetypes and fallen angels, though, and we can get more into that in another time as well. But this is something that we just have to be mindful of. And I do believe that as the gods and goddesses fornicated with, like, I'm sure everybody's heard about Zeus, fooling around with the humans and whatnot, and then there's these demigods and all that. Well, I'm also sure and very positive that those stories aren't there for just no reason, okay? And I don't think that it's a coincidence that the book of Enoch talks about fallen angels fornicating with humans, and then we have these gods and goddesses who have also tried to rebel against God and create their own type of religion, so to speak, right? You don't think that the fallen angels that rebelled against God are capable of constricting and contriving all these new different types of religions to incrementally increase the probability of humans never relating to God, the creator himself, actually? Like, you think that that's not a possibility? Yeah, it's a possibility. But, we're going to talk more about that in the Regal Change Academy. And I'm super excited for that class because we're going to go deep. But you have to understand these things, and it's almost like the more dense your spirit becomes, and not dense as in like you're stiff-necked or hard to get through or to reach or to talk to. It's more about how you as a man are highly enveloped in the spiritual domain, and you are at peace with yourself to the point in which you are like gravity when it comes to the people. You have certain amounts of knowledge. People know that you know things, but they don't know why you know what they know. You don't know why. How do I say this? They don't know why you know the things that you do or how you know it, and they don't exactly know what you know. They just know that there's something more to you. And that kind of magnetic magic presence is very, very powerful and potent, and it's not to be taken lightly. You have to be responsible with this kind of power, okay? Because we're going to get now into the second part of this vessel of semen retention. So now you have like the first vessel being the practice of semen retention itself. Now the second vessel, the second layer, is actually implementing it within your own psychophysiology. Now, when you implement that and you integrate that into your own psychophysiology, this is where the density of your being gradually increases and becomes more attracted and attractive with the things that are actually meant for you in this world. Now, we live in a highly, highly oppressive society. I don't think that we realize just how oppressed we really are, because we've traded ambition for comfort for so long, for so many different reasons, that our comfort, we see comfort as this luxury, and in reality it's a prison. And it's so fascinating to think about it in this way, at least for me, because we start to realize just how degraded and demoralized and dehumanized we truly are in society. We realize just how truly pathetic our behavior really is. And we don't but this is why I mentioned how self-awareness is one of the best weapons in your spiritual arsenal for confronting spiritual warfare. Because if you don't have this kind of self-awareness, good freaking luck getting out there and trying to make something of yourself that's going to actually give truth and life back to the people. How do you give life and truth to the people when you yourself are not able to see the truth? And this is why I see my whole duty, my whole sacred duty, doing what I do, to be like, it is my job to question as many things as possible. It is my job to live what I preach, not just preach it, because I see a lot of semen retention people, and look, I think that their hearts are in the right place. I don't doubt their intentions in any way, shape, or form. However, there's a lot of them that just simply are not practicing what they're preaching. And for me, myself, I guess I just don't get it. For me, when my words and my actions don't align, I literally feel as though I'm killing parts of my soul. In the past, that's the way that I felt. So now I don't even speak or utter any kinds of words, not even to myself, like out loud. Because when I'm alone, sometimes I'll talk to myself, and not like in a crazy way, but I'll just communicate with myself. And sometimes it's helpful to speak out loud to myself, like even doing these videos sometimes even just talking into the camera. Sometimes there's this reformation of thoughts and thought algorithms that occur to the point in which I'm able to reestablish the connection to my own spirit through the optimization of accessing parts of my mind that I didn't even know were there. And it's like there's this interesting mirror that happens when you're able to see through this BS. You're able to see through the lies. Now, like in V for Vendetta, for example, if anybody's ever seen that movie, one of the best quotes that I've ever heard in that movie was, artists use lies to tell the truth. But politicians, bishops, all these fake people, whatever, they use the truth to tell lies. And that is exactly what I'm aiming to do to some degree. Is I'm aiming to live my life as an art form. And in doing so, I'm going to have to bring certain pieces of the puzzle to the table, in which I'm aiming to give you guys a more holistic picture and image of what exactly this life truly is about. What exactly this life truly can encapsulate if you just have the courage to let go of these preconceived notions or presuppositions that are based on ideologies, that are based on dogma, that is based on nothing. I mean, really, it's based on nothing but what you've been told. And semen retention allows you to amplify what you thought you knew and give you this sense of oh, okay, well, now I have this knowledge about, but after a while, here comes the third layer of that vessel. You start to realize, oh yeah, because I know all these things, like, oh yeah, this is great. And then you reach a point to where your circumference of knowledge is so great that you realize you don't know anything. You have absolutely no idea what anything is in this world except for Jesus Christ. That's it. When Jesus says that he's the way, the truth, and the life, he means that. Okay, he means it. And I think that this is where we as human beings must really cultivate a sense of honor, dignity, and remember that our integrity with God is going to be what's most important at the end of the day. So with all that being said, I hope this message was useful and insightful for you. If you're interested in going deeper into these kinds of things, the Godlike Master Initiation program that I have is going to be where we go deeper. And this is not going to be for people that are wanting to just start out. Okay, this is going to be for people that really want to make a transformative change and difference in their lives. And so if you're interested in that, check out the links in the description box below, and we can go into more details about that. Otherwise, the Regal Change Academy, now it is free to enter into the platform now. However, if you want to be on the calls, if you want to be on like the Book of Enoch, for example, we also have other classes coming up that you want to probably be in if you're looking to transform certain things. This is going to be the time for you to opt in. And also, yeah, if you want to be in those calls, that's when we're going to have the paywall up to enter into those calls. So there's going to be tiers going into the academy as well. But it is free to join, but you just won't have access to the classes or the calls and the group calls. But other than that, I hope everybody stays blessed out there. I hope this was informative and useful and insightful for you. Peace. Until next time.